Hello. So, we're starting the trek from England to Montenegro. We're going to get the bus to Leeds station, then we've got to get a coach to Manchester Airport, and then from Manchester we're going to Tivat in Montenegro. And that's our journey so far. So, here we go. So I made it to the airport. I'm now going to make my way to Terminal 1 to go get my flight. So I made it to Montenegro. You can see the view behind me. Look at the mountains, absolutely lovely. But now my next struggle is to find a way how to get to my Airbnb, because there's a lot of taxi drivers trying to scam you out of money, trying to charge €60, which is a bit steep, and it's not exactly very clear on how you get the bus. Well, that was a wild ride, let me tell you. I had to get a taxi in the end, which cost me about €50. So I've just been told by the host of my Airbnb it should usually cost about 25 to 30, maybe €40 max. Lesson learned, don't use taxis from the airport. But anyway, let me give you a tour of what my apartment looks like. So we've got a little one-bed studio apartment. It's actually really cute, to be fair. You know, nice little kitchenette unit. Nice fridge, TV on the wall, bed in the corner. And then we've got a nice little balcony. Oh, and then look at the view. Like, it's absolutely stunning. I've had a little bit of time to just chill out at the nice Airbnb. And now I'm just going to go down to the marina. Like, how can you get sick of this? I'm just having a nice little walk down by the marina, and honestly, how can you get fed up with a view like that? You know, after the long wait and lack of sleep that I've had, based on having to go to the airport for 12 p.m, it's absolutely lovely to just be able to just have a day and just chill out. Good morning, people. So, I'm very well rested. Slept a little bit longer than I expected to, but oh well. So, first thing I have to do this morning is go to the registration office. One thing I forgot to do yesterday. In Kotor, Old Town, because I have to go pay for my tourist tax. I didn't realise that was a thing. I thought it was included in my Airbnb price, but apparently not. And then after, I'm gonna go find some place to go for breakfast, and then I'm gonna go to Tivat. Hello, Narrative Ben here. So I thought it would be worth mentioning here that the bus from Kotor to Tivat takes around 45 minutes, but it's only £2 to £3, or roughly around €4 to €5, so it's very cheap and it takes you through the mountains, and you get some really lovely mountain scenery on the way. When you reach Tivat, you can walk all along the marina, taking the landscape and the views of Port Montenegro, where they have a lot of yachts and super yachts. And if you just want a low-key day to have some nice food in a lovely area, there are a bunch of restaurants we can enjoy a plethora of different kinds of food, and then do some shopping and take it easy. I did really enjoy walking down this promenade. You can sit on one of the benches all along the way and just watch the yachts pass in. There's also a couple of beaches if you want to spend the day and go for a swim in the sea, but they're not really your typical sandy beaches that you'd find if you go to Spain or somewhere in the Mediterranean. Quick lesson learned. So it turns out there's actually not that much to see and do in Tivat. Most of the stuff is actually where I'm staying in Kotor, so there is a few things to go see little outside of Tivat, but my recommendation, if you're going to come here, the promenade and the port's quite nice. But other than that, the beaches are all pebble beaches. They're not very big. There's a few like beach houses. We can look at the outside the mountains and the sea. But personally, I don't think it's worth coming to see, to be honest. So I've decided to come back to Kotor because the fortress called Gorazda or something was a bit far out of reach, and it was like a 25-minute drive, and it was out of the way. So instead, going to a different fortress, which is a little bit closer to home. Nice little hike. So I'm going to do this instead. And to be fair, it's really quiet. Well, for some reason, I'm following a trail that I don't really know where it's going. It seems to go up and down. Now I've ended up in a forest, and I don't know where to go. Ended up at some woman's apartment, and she was like, nope, it's not that way. It just sounded like she was screaming at me. So it was 25 minutes to get in the car to get to the first fort called Garadas or whatever it was called. It's essentially another fort that I'm trying to get to now. Some guy at the bus station basically said that there's no buses there. For some reason, they don't do buses up there. So, and the only way to get there is taxi. He said that his friend could possibly take me, but I don't really want to hitchhike with randos in case of, So I decided I won't do that. I mean, he was a lovely gentleman from Bosnia. He was like, oh, do you smoke pot? And I was like, no. So he seemed like a friendly enough chap. So yeah, I'm back in Kotor now. I'm going to go try and climb this mountain and find this fortress. Well, I definitely found the right path, but geez, I'm not wearing the right shoes for this. Wearing Vans. But look at that for a view. Woo! And I'm not even halfway up the trail yet, or even at the fort. So, but it's going to take like an hour to hike up to it. And Ben has little water, so this is going to be fun. There's worse places to be lost. So I made it to the top, and this is the abandoned fort. So a little history for you. Fort Vermok is 785 metres above sea level. It was established in the 1800s and was used during the First World War, when it was heavily bombarded by the Montenegrins. After that, it was then abandoned by the Yugoslav troops, and according to Wikipedia, it's one of the best preserved Austro-Hungarian forts in the Bay of Kotor. Yeah, it's quite a cool place. I don't know I had a message off the taxi driver and he said it was busy. It's bloody dead here. Unless he's talking about down here. Oh, we've come across some Montenegro wildlife. Some wild goats. Lovely. Good morning. So today's plan is to have a mooch around Kotor Old Town. I'm thinking, because I've got to get up early at 5:30 tomorrow because of this day tour, I need to have an early night. So I'm going to stay local. One thing that I've noticed whilst I've been here is that taxis are very unreliable. Like, 1 minute you could send a text or call them and they have loads spare or free to go, and then the next you text them, like for example now, and they have none available. The good thing about Kotor is if you're looking for a somewhat of a chilled out and cheap day, most things you can see and do in the Old Town are free, as it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you can just take in the vibes and the atmosphere that the place has to give. You can wander around the Old Town, find some souvenirs in a gift shop for your time in Kotor. You can also walk around the Kotor promenade, taking in the unique look of the Belka Bay. There's also the St. Nicholas Church, which is one of the biggest religious objects in Kotor, which stands out in the city skyline with its 2 towers. can have a walk around the walls of the old town and admire the remarkable scenery. You may even see some local wildlife, as Kotor Bay is renowned for being able to spot up to 60 different types of birds. There are also some coffee shops and fooderies along the walls, if you need something to eat whilst exploring. Girditch Gate, or also known as the South Gate, is one of Kotor's most recognisable landmarks, and this is one of 3 entrance points into the old town. The thing I like most about Kotor is just it's a very chilled and laid back place. I know it's obviously very historic, and you've got all its landmarks, but you only need a couple of hours here, maybe half a day, because it is so small. But you've got things like the cobbled streets, you've got bell towers, you've got local musicians, which really adds to the atmosphere and vibe of the place. Everyone's super friendly and chilled out, and overall it's just a really scenic place and quite an interesting place to understand and learn about the history of Kotor and Montenegro itself. I was going to hike up that thing. There's like some stairs route that you can take to get nice views of Kotor Marina, but it was like €20, so I thought, nah, we'll stick to the free stuff today. One thing I'll say is that this walk reminds me of walking around the York City Bar walls, to the extent where you can see things that are happening over the barricade, but then there's like shops and stuff as you walk all the way across the walls, and it's pretty cool. My first meal out in Montenegro, and I've got a risotto. Here we go, taste test. Not gonna lie, the rice is still undercooked. Oh well, it's got shrimps in it, so I'm happy.
Something for open water for Blue Cave. Weather is bad outside. There is heavy waves, but we will try. If I see any dangerous things, if I see any abnormal things, I will turn back and I will give you extra time in Porto Novi or Peras. Okay?
Alright. So, these tours cost around €40 for 3 hours, and the boat takes you all along the beautiful Montenegrin coast from the Blue Caves of Kotor, past the iconic Manuel Island, which is an old 18th century fortress which has now been turned into a luxury hotel for a unique experience. You can just sit back and relax whilst you're on the speedboat, although I would recommend that you take a hoodie or a coat because it's very windy. You then get taken to the Blue Cave. These are similar to the ones that you'd find in Dubrovnik or Split in Croatia, where you'll get a really bright glow of blue from the sun or the moon that hits the caves. Unfortunately, we didn't get to swim in these because the water was very cold. The tour then continues to take you around Kotor Bay into some of the former submarine tunnels built by the Yugoslavian army, where remains of rocks and camouflage remain to protect the tunnels from satellites or spy planes during the wars. You're then taken to the island of Perast and over to what is known as Our Lady of the Rocks, which is an islet built by voyagers over many years. This is known to be one of Kotor's oldest churches, and the views from the islet itself of Kotor Bay and the mountains from a different viewpoint, you can really see why more and more people are starting to come to Montenegro and take in its unique history. So, I've been on a 3-hour boat cruise. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, I've had a really good time. Met some lovely Aussies, met some Russians. All in all, good activity. Yeah, I've enjoyed today. Kotor's lovely. People have been really pleasant. I've had a more positive experience today. And yeah, right. I'm gonna sign off for the day. So until tomorrow, peace out. Good morning. It's currently about 6:15 and I'm making my way into Kotor town to the meeting point for the start of my tour today. So we're going to Dermator, Tara and the Ostrog Monastery. So we're going to a national park. It's going to be about 10 hours in total tour, I think. So it's an early start. It's quite chilly today. The cost of this day trip was about £66 or around €75 on Get Your Guide, which if you didn't know is my go-to when I'm on all of my travels to go and see places that I'm unable to drive to myself. If I'm being completely honest, it was probably one of the highlights of my time in Montenegro. The tour guide was really informative and welcoming, and everyone on the tour itself was just really chatty, as well as all the landmarks you're taken to, which all made for a really positive day trip. The tour started around 7 AM, lasted for about 13 hours. The only downside that I could really have about this tour is that you're in the minivan for quite a long time, just because of the amount of time it takes to drive from one place to another, but besides that, it was completely fine. The first viewpoint that you're taken to is of the Bay of Kotor and Parast. You then get taken to Kaliba, which is a nice place for breakfast, with a nice viewpoint of the mountains and the lakes below. You're then taken on an hour minivan ride over to the Ostrog Monastery. This is a Serbian monastery which is situated at an almost vertical backdrop high up in the rocks, so there's a lot of weaving for the bus driver, and I must admit, I would have hated having to do that drive up the winding roads up the mountain just to get to the monastery, so I'm so glad I wasn't driving. You're then taken to the Tara River, also known as the Đurđevica Bridge in the Dermator National Park. There's a chance to have a zipline experience across the gorge, which is...
Bye!
Bye-bye! Woo! You then have to have a drive back on the back of a truck, back up to the Tara Bridge to meet the rest of the people on the tour. The last checkpoint on the itinerary for the tour was a walk around the Black Lake, which is a glacial lake found at the bottom of Mount Dermator. We had the opportunity to walk through the forest and have a walk around the lake. Unfortunately, you can't walk around all of it because that'll probably take at least half a day, and because the lake's so big. Unless you got a boat, you could probably go across in a nice little wooden boat. You see some jotted around all around the lake if you're walking around. But yeah, I reckon if I had longer here, I probably would have gone out and camped here for a couple of nights because the views are honestly just breathtaking and it's so peaceful here as well, especially when there wasn't as many people. And also, it would have probably been really fun to climb up that Mount Dermator mountain. But yeah, all in all, it was a really positive experience. Really enjoyed the day trip and the people that I spoke to and had food with. Would definitely recommend.